Today I wanted to talk about intuition and how connected we really are with our bodies and our higher self or spirit. So in the last few days, I've had a few conversations with friends and family, and something that's come up is intuition and a knowing. Intuition is basically just a knowing of something. And I had spoken with a friend about, a health thing that they were having, and they're like, oh, I think that this organ here is, hurting or whatever. And then I was talking to someone else and just kind of mentioning that story, and they're like, well, how would they know what organ? And I'm just made me think, like, some people are very intuitive and other people just know because they're very familiar with their bodies, and they may not even realize, or it may not be their intuition, but a lot of people are very intuitive. And to think, basically the gist of the story is that some people think that only a doctor or some other trained medical professional could be able to help them figure out what the problem may be in their body, whereas we need to realize that we are way more connected than we may understand. Now, I have a lot of friends that are very connected and would probably think this is a silly conversation right now because they're probably like, of course I know what it is. I'm very connected with my body and my spirit, and it knows. The idea, though, is I've had lots of people in life where they say, like, they've had a medical issue and they've gone to multiple different medical professionals and can't get to the bottom of it. And I've suggested to many of them, like, experimenting. And when I say experimenting, I'm not saying like crazy things, and I'm not saying like do surgery on yourself or take weird products and things like that, but maybe experiment with your diet. An elimination diet is a really big one. A lot of what especially Americans are eating is very unhealthy and very high inflammatory, which creates all sorts of problems in the body. The other thing is that certain people have certain reactions to certain foods that are fine for other people. So a lot of times I'll hear from people when I suggest such things, oh, well, it's all healthy stuff, it's this, and this. And I'm like, well, generally speaking, that food item may be considered healthy, but you could have, an allergy or a sensitivity to it. Or it could be that because of what's going on in your body right now, that it's rejecting that, or it's, misaligning with something else going on, right? The other thing is, too, you could try eating or drinking different amounts or in different times of the day. So keeping a food journal, and also alongside of that, like how you're feeling, is super important. Like, sometimes, here's one for me, sometimes dairy bothers me, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. So ice cream, most people, it tastes really good, right? So every once in a while I will purchase ice cream and I'll eat it. And sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes I'll have a stomachache afterward. And then I tell myself, oh, you kind of knew that, that might happen. And I laugh at myself. And then I usually don't have it for a while because it's like, okay, that may happen. Now, a lot of it could be your own thoughts toward a thing. So one of the things that happens sometimes, especially when people are trying to maybe lose weight or gain weight, they have this feeling of, oh, if I eat this food, it's going to make me fat, or it's going to this or that. So then they have that belief with the eating of the food, and it creates that. It could be what happened with ice cream, but usually when I feel like it happens, it's when I'm not thinking about it and or think it's going to be fine. But again, having that written journal to be like, oh, well, maybe when I eat it in the earlier part of the day, it doesn't affect me. Maybe it's when I eat it after dinner that it affects me. Or maybe it's, if I eat something before a workout, it affects me. Or maybe right after a workout. Maybe it's first thing in the morning. Like, I've been lately not eating in the mornings and not really eating till like somewhere between 11 and 1, depending on, what I'm doing in the morning. And then that's my first meal of the day. So I'm technically fasted because I usually, finish eating, dinner somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m., depending on what we have going on at the house. But I'm technically fasted up until that period, where other people, they wake up first thing in the morning, they want to put some kind of food item into their system. And again, there's no right or wrong. Like, there are certain people online that'll be like, oh, you definitely want to fast in the morning, or you definitely want to fast in the evening, or you definitely this and definitely that. And like, I'm one to not say definitely. And I think that it's super important. And I use the word experiment, and some people won't like that word, but for me, I feel like it's an experiment on yourself. And again, like I said, nothing crazy, and I'm not a medical professional, and you may not be either, but having these concepts of, okay, these are the things I'm eating. When I ate that, I felt bloated, or when I ate that, I had energy. And then maybe you try it, like maybe something made you feel great, but then you eat it at a different time of day, or eat it with something else and it doesn't. Like, for instance, if you're eating, carby foods with meat, you're not getting what you need out of them. So like, eating carbs by itself, burning them off or something, not so bad. But then when you're throwing, protein and maybe even fats in with it, then you're really like putting a lot into your system. So again, like, everyone may not be the same. There's probably certain things that are, more likely than not, but I don't even want to put that out there, because in my mind, I feel like everyone could have a different response to different foods, amounts of foods at different times. Sometimes it could be, hey, that was a really healthy choice for you. It was a really good food, but you ate too much of it, or you didn't eat enough of it. Like, oh, usually this makes me feel good, but then when you look at it, you're like, oh, well, I didn't really probably eat enough to satiate myself. And if there's something that you just don't like, the taste, the flavor, the texture of, and you're forcing yourself to eat it because, someone said that you need to eat this item at this time or whatever, it may not have a good effect on you, versus if you have the mindset of like, oh, this is so nutritious for me, it's satiating, I can't pronounce that word, it makes me feel good, you're more likely to have that be their result after eating it. So it is mindset as well. But mindset can only go so far. Like, if you're only consuming junk food and food-like items, you're not going to be healthy and you're not going to feel well. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, when you look at labels in the grocery store, we primarily shop the perimeter, and we're getting, sometimes dairy, eggs, meat, fruits, veggies, those kind of things, sometimes fresh breads. I try not to have too many things that are in the inner aisles that are prepackaged, pre-made, have a lot of additives. But a lot of the things you pick up and you look at the ingredients, you will be surprised what is in it. And if you don't know what something is, like, sometimes it could be just the chemical word of something, and then you look it up and you're like, oh, that's just whatever, right? If you're not familiar. But some of the things you look up and you're like, this is like some food like item that they created in a lab, and your body doesn't know what to do with it, or it creates inflammation because your body doesn't want it in its system. Again, like, most people don't take the time to think about a lot of these things, and or they go outside of themselves and expect their doctor to be able to tell them. Most doctors have very little nutrition education and knowledge. I hear it oftentimes where someone's sick or diagnosed with something, and they ask the doctor, like, what should I be eating? And the doctor's like, eat whatever you want. How wrong is that? Like, honestly, what foods have nutrition, have the nutrients in them that's going to help a person. Like, food is thy medicine. You are what you eat. Like, all those things have like real reasons. But step outside of the norm and go do some research. And the best research is keeping track and keeping notes on how you're feeling. I hope this helps someone. I know it's a little longer than my normal videos, but I was just really thinking about this and wanted to help empower people to really, help themselves. Anyways, I hope that this helps someone and makes you even think a little differently. And, even if you make little changes in your diet or your lifestyle, it could really help out, maybe a situation that you're facing where you have an ache or a pain or a soreness or, mucus or tiredness or whatever it may be, that you just change one or two little things and feel a lot better. I hope this helps someone feel better and have a wonderful rest of your day.